The first thing I noticed when I stepped off the transport plane at Fort Bragg wasn't the familiar North Carolina humidity or the sound of helicopters overhead. It was my phone buzzing with 17 missed calls from my neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, all timestamped from the past 3 hours. My name is Marcus Webb, and I just completed a 9-month deployment in Afghanistan as a combat engineer. All I wanted was to drive the 2 hours home to my small house in Millbrook, crack open a beer, and sleep in my own bed for the first time in nearly a year. Instead, I was staring at a voicemail that made my blood run cold. "Marcus, honey, I don't know how to tell you this." Mrs. Patterson's shaky voice came through my phone speaker. "But there's a moving truck at your house. Your sister Elena is there with some woman in a business suit, and they're loading up your furniture." I tried to ask what was happening, but Elena told me to mind my own business. She said the house was sold and you knew all about it. "But Marcus, I know you'd have told me if." I didn't wait to hear the rest. My hands were shaking as I dialed Elena's number. "Marcus." Her voice was artificially bright when she answered. "You're back. How was your deployment?" "Elena, what the hell is happening to my house?" A pause. "Too long." "What do you mean?" Mrs. Patterson called. She said there's a moving truck. She said you sold my house. Of that. Elena's tone shifted, becoming defensive. "Look, I can explain everything. You were gone so long, and the mortgage payments were piling up. I had to do something. I set up automatic payments before I left. The mortgage was current. Well, there were other expenses. Property taxes, maintenance, utilities. It was becoming a burden on the family. I found a buyer willing to take it off our hands." "Take it off our hands." My voice rose, drawing stares from other soldiers in the terminal. "It's my house, Elena. I bought it with my VA loan. Your name isn't on anything." "Actually, it is. Remember when you deployed the first time 3 years ago? You gave me power of attorney to handle your affairs while you were gone. I never revoked it." My stomach dropped. She was right. After my first deployment, I'd been so grateful for her help managing things that I'd never thought to revoke the legal documents. "Elena, tell me you didn't sell my house." Silence. "Elena, it's done, Marcus. The papers are signed, the money's transferred. I got $50,000 for it, which was actually pretty good considering the neighborhood's been declining." $50,000. My house was worth at least $180,000. I'd had it appraised before deployment. "Who did you sell it to?" "A woman named Victoria Hartwell. She was very interested in the property, said she wanted to flip it. The name meant nothing to me, but I filed it away." "Elena, this is fraud. You can't just sell someone else's property." "I had legal authority, and frankly, Marcus, you should be thanking me. You were never going to be able to keep up with the payments on your army salary. This way, you have some cash to start over." "Start over?" I was shouting now. "I don't want to start over. I want my house back." "Well, that's not possible." "Look, I have to go. The buyers want to do a final walkthrough. We'll talk when you get home." She hung up. I stood there in the middle of Fort Bragg's terminal, still in my ACUs, watching families reunite around me while my world crumbled. Elena had stolen my house. My sanctuary. The place I'd dreamed about every night in a dusty Afghan outpost. But here's what Elena didn't know. I'm a combat engineer. My job is planning, preparation, and explosive solutions to complex problems. And before every deployment, I plan for every contingency, including the possibility that someone might try to break into my house while I was gone. The drive home took 3 hours instead of 2 because I stopped at a Best Buy in Raleigh. When I finally turned onto Maple Street, my heart sank. Mrs. Patterson had been right. The moving truck was gone. But my house, my beautiful brick ranch with the blue shutters I painted myself, sat empty. Even from the street, I could see it was completely vacant. Elena's Honda Civic was in the driveway. I parked my beat-up Jeep behind her car, blocking her in, and walked up to my own front door. It felt surreal using my key, wondering if the locks had been changed. They hadn't. "Elena?" I called out as I stepped inside. My voice echoed. The house was completely empty except for Elena, who was standing in what used to be my living room with a woman in an expensive-looking pantsuit. The woman had perfect blonde hair and carried herself like someone used to getting her way. "Marcus," Elena's smile was fake as plastic. "You made good time. This is Victoria Hartwell, the buyer I told you about." Victoria extended a manicured hand. Mr. Webb, thank you for your service. Your sister has told me so much about you. I ignored her hand. Where's my furniture? The sale included all furnishings, Victoria said smoothly. It was part of the package deal. My grandmother's dining room set, my father's tools, my personal belongings. Elena waved dismissively. I put a few things in storage, the important stuff. But honestly, Marcus, most of it was junk. This is better for everyone. $50,000, I said quietly. That's what you got. It's a fair price, Victoria interjected. The market in this area has been soft and the house needed work. I walked through my empty home, noting every detail. The scuff marks on the hardwood floors where my couch had been. The faded rectangles on the walls where my pictures had hung. The empty kitchen where I planned to cook my first home-cooked meal in 9 months. I need to see the paperwork, I said. Elena pulled out a folder. Everything's legal, Marcus. I made sure of that. I scanned the documents. She was right. Technically, everything appeared to be in order. The power of attorney gave her broad authority. The deed transfer was properly notarized. Victoria had even paid cash, which expedited the process. But something bothered me about Victoria. She kept checking her phone and seemed eager to leave. When Elena mentioned she'd stored some of my things, Victoria's expression tightened almost imperceptibly. Well, Victoria said, checking an expensive watch, I should get going. I have another appointment. That's when I noticed something interesting. Through the front window, I could see a black Mercedes in the driveway across the street. The license plate read, Hey R21. Presumably Victoria's car. But she'd walked up to my house, not driven. Nice car, I commented. Is that yours across the street? Victoria glanced out the window and her face flushed slightly. Of that? Yes, I didn't want to block your driveway. Except my driveway wasn't blocked. Elena's car was there, but there was plenty of room. Victoria, I said casually, what do you do for work? Real estate development, she replied quickly. Which company? A pause. Hartwell Properties. It's family owned. Elena was watching our exchange with growing discomfort. Marcus, stop interrogating her. The sale is final. I'm not interrogating anyone, just making conversation. I turned back to Victoria. Hartwell Properties. I think I've heard of that company. Didn't they just get that big commercial contract downtown? Victoria's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and went pale. I really do need to go. Elena, thank you for everything. Mr. Webb again. Thank you for your service. She practically ran out of the house. Elena watched her go, then turned to me. See, she seems nice. And she paid cash, no financing complications. You should be grateful. Where are you staying these days, Elena? She looked surprised by the question. The same place I've always lived. The apartment on Glenwood. Still working at Morrison & Associates. Of course. Why? Morrison & Associates was a mid-size accounting firm downtown. I made a mental note. Just curious. It's been 9 months. A lot can change. Elena gathered her paperwork. Look, Marcus, I know you're upset. But this really is for the best. You can use the money for a down payment somewhere else. Maybe closer to base. Maybe, can I get the address for the storage unit? I'd like to get my personal things. She handed me a piece of paper with an address written in her handwriting. Unit 47. I pay for 3 months in advance. After Elena left, I sat on the floor in my empty house and tried to process what had happened. 9 months of dreaming about coming home, and home no longer existed. But Elena had made one critical error. She assumed that a soldier deployed overseas couldn't monitor his property. I pulled out the laptop I'd bought at Best Buy and connected to my neighbor's Wi-Fi. Password still Patterson 123 like always. Then I logged into an account Elena didn't know existed. Before my deployment, I'd installed a comprehensive security system. Not just cameras, though there were 8 of those, hidden in inconspicuous locations around the property. I'd also installed audio recording devices, motion sensors, and even a GPS tracker hidden in my truck, which Elena had obviously moved. The security company's cloud storage contained 9 months of footage. I started with the most recent files and worked backward. There was Victoria's car arriving this morning. There was Elena directing the movers yesterday. There was, interesting, 3 weeks ago, there was footage of Elena bringing Victoria to the house for what appeared to be a showing. But in the audio, I heard something that made my blood boil. "He'll never know," Elena was saying as she walked Victoria through my kitchen. "My brother's a simple soldier. He trusts me completely. Once the sale goes through, it'll be too late for him to do anything about it. And you're sure he won't contest it?" Victoria's voice was clear on the recording. "With what? He's halfway around the world. By the time he gets back, you'll own the house and I'll have the money. He can be mad all he wants. What about the neighbors? They mind their own business. And even if they don't, so what? I have power of attorney. Everything I'm doing is legal." Victoria laughed. "You know my husband is going to love this. He's been looking for investment properties and getting one this far under market value is perfect." "Your husband?" "David Hartwell. He runs Morrison and Associates downtown." My heart stopped. David Hartwell, Elena's boss. I scrolled through more footage, looking for patterns. What I found was worse than I'd imagined. Elena had been bringing Victoria to my house for months, not just for showings, but for what appeared to be personal visits. In several videos, I watched them walk through my home like they already owned it, pointing at rooms and discussing renovation plans. But the worst footage was from 6 weeks ago. Elena and Victoria were in my bedroom, and Elena was going through my personal belongings, showing Victoria items like they were for sale. "This watch was our grandfather's," Elena said, holding up a vintage Timex, "probably worth a few $100s. "I'll take it," Victoria replied. "David collects vintage timepieces." They went through my closet, my dresser drawers, even my bathroom medicine cabinet. Elena was cataloging my life, pricing out my possessions like I was already dead. The audio from that day was crystal clear. "You know," Victoria said, "I feel a little bad about this. Your brother seems like a good guy." Elena's laugh was cold. "Marcus has always been the family favorite. The war hero, the responsible one. Do you know he bought this house when he was 23? 23. While I was struggling to make rent on a studio apartment. That must have been hard. He acts like he's so much better than everyone else. Look at me. I serve my country. I own property. I'm so responsible." "Well, let's see how responsible he feels when he comes home to nothing. The money will help though, right? 50,000 is nothing to sneeze at." "The money's just the beginning," Elena replied. "Once this house sells, I'm moving to Charlotte. New job, new life. Marcus can figure out his own problems for once." I had heard enough. The next morning, I drove to Morrison and Associates. The receptionist directed me to David Hartwell's office on the 3rd floor. The nameplate on the door confirmed what I'd already suspected: David Hartwell, managing partner. I knocked and entered without waiting for permission. David Hartwell was about 50, with graying hair and the soft physique of a man who spent his days behind a desk. He looked up from his computer with mild annoyance. "Can I help you?" "Mr. Hartwell, my name is Marcus Webb. I believe your wife just bought my house." His expression shifted immediately. Surprise, then recognition, then something that might have been panic. What can I do for you, Mr. Webb?" I pulled out my laptop and set it on his desk. "I'd like to show you something." I played the footage from 3 weeks ago. Elena's voice filled the office. "He'll never know. He's a simple soldier. He trusts me completely." David's face went progressively paler as the video played. That's not what Victoria told me." "What did Victoria tell you?" "She said it was a legitimate sale. Your sister needed to sell quickly because of your deployment, and they worked out a fair deal." I played another clip, this one from 6 weeks ago. Victoria's voice. "I feel a little bad about this. Your brother seems like a good guy." Elena's response. "Let's see how responsible he feels when he comes home to nothing." David put his head in his hands. "Oh God. Mr. Hartwell, I'm not here to cause problems for you or your wife. But I need my house back. We paid cash, $50,000. For a house worth $180,000. You knew it was underpriced. Victoria handles our real estate investments. I trusted her judgment." I played one more clip, the most damning one. From 4 weeks ago, Victoria and Elena were discussing the sale with brutal honesty. "The best part," Elena was saying, "is that even when Marcus finds out, there's nothing he can do. The sale will be legal, the money will be spent, and he'll be screwed." "What if he gets lawyers involved?" Victoria asked. "With what money? He's an enlisted soldier." I know exactly how much he makes, and it's not enough for a legal battle against us." David looked sick. Victoria never mentioned. She said it was just a good investment opportunity. "Mr. Hartwell, I have 9 months of footage showing systematic fraud, conspiracy, and theft. I have audio recordings of your wife and my sister planning to steal my house while I was serving overseas. I have documentation of them going through my personal belongings like vultures." I closed the laptop. "I'm going to give you one opportunity to make this right. What do you want?" "I want the sale reversed. Full refund of your $50,000, immediate transfer of the deed back to my name, and the return of all my personal property. And if we do that, then this stays between us. No criminal charges, no public humiliation, no news stories about how an accounting firm owner conspired to defraud a deployed soldier." David was quiet for a long moment. "You could destroy me." "Yes, I could. Your firm handles contracts with the city, the county, and 3 military contractors. How do you think they'd react to footage of your wife planning to steal from a deployed soldier?" He picked up his phone and dialed. "Victoria, come to my office, now." 10 minutes later, Victoria Hartwell walked into her husband's office. She saw me and froze. "Sit down," David said quietly. "David, what's?" "Sit down." She sat. David played the footage. All of it. 9 months of evidence compressed into 20 minutes of devastating audio and video. By the end, Victoria was crying. "I never meant for it to go this far," she whispered. "Yes, you did," I said calmly. "You planned this for months. You and Elena conspired to steal my house while I was deployed, thinking I'd never be able to fight back. We paid for it. You paid $50,000 for a house worth $180,000, using fraudulent power of attorney documents while I was serving in Afghanistan. That's not a purchase. That's theft." David leaned back in his chair. "Victoria, did you know the house was worth more than $50,000? She didn't answer. "Victoria." "Yes," she whispered. "How much more?" The county assessment was $175,000. David closed his eyes. When he opened them, his voice was deadly calm. "You stole from a soldier." "I didn't steal anything. Elena had power of attorney." "Elena committed fraud, and you helped her," I said. "The question now is what we're going to do about it." David looked at me. "What do you need from us?" "The deed transferred back to my name by tomorrow morning. Full return of the $50,000. And I want every stick of my furniture, every personal item, everything returned to the house by tomorrow evening." "What about Elena?" Victoria asked. "Elena is my problem. But if you cooperate fully, I won't involve the police or the district attorney." David nodded. "We'll make it right." "David," Victoria protested. "We'll make it right," he repeated firmly. "Victoria, you just destroyed our reputation, our marriage, and possibly our freedom. The least we can do is return this man's house." The next morning, I received a call from David's attorney. The deed transfer was complete. By afternoon, a moving truck was returning my furniture to 47 Maple Street. Everything was there, even my grandfather's watch. Elena called that evening, screaming, "You son of a bitch. What did you do?" "I came home," I said calmly. "Victoria said you had recordings. You were spying on me. I was protecting my property, which, as it turns out, was a good idea." "This is harassment. I'll sue you." "With what money, Elena?" "I understand you were planning to move to Charlotte with the proceeds from selling my house. How's that working out for you?" Silence. "Elena, I gave you every opportunity to do the right thing. When I called you from Fort Bragg, you could have told me the truth. When I asked you yesterday about the sale, you could have shown some remorse. Instead, you doubled down on stealing from me. It wasn't stealing." "Yes, it was. And you know what the worst part is? It was never about the money for you. You said it yourself in the recordings. This was about resentment, about wanting to hurt me. You always got everything," she exploded. "The perfect son, the war hero, the homeowner. Do you know what it's like living in your shadow? I bought that house with my VA loan after serving 2 tours in Iraq, Elena. I worked double shifts at the hardware store while going to college. I saved every penny for 3 years. Nothing was given to me. You make it sound so noble. It's not noble. It's just life. And you tried to steal it while I was serving my country." She was crying now. "What happens to me?" "That depends. Are you willing to make this right? What do you mean? The storage unit. I want the key, and I want you to be there when I open it. I want to see everything you took from my house. The next day, Elena met me at the storage facility. She looked terrible, hollow-eyed and haggard, like she hadn't slept. Unit 47 was packed floor to ceiling with my belongings. Not just furniture, but everything. My books, my photos, my military memorabilia, even my kitchen utensils. You were really going to sell all of this, I said, looking around. I don't know. I was angry. At me? At everything. At my life, at my job. At being 32 years old and having nothing to show for it. I picked up a framed photo of our parents. So you decided to take mine. Elena sat down on a box and put her head in her hands. I messed up, Marcus. I messed up so bad. Yes, you did. What now? Are you pressing charges? I've been thinking about that question for 2 days. Elena had committed multiple felonies. Fraud, theft, conspiracy. She could go to prison for years. But she was still my sister. I should, I said finally, but I'm not going to. She looked up, surprised. However, I continued, there are conditions. What conditions? First, you pay for moving all of this stuff back to my house. Second, you get help. Therapy, counseling, whatever it takes to figure out why you thought this was acceptable. Third, you apologize to Mrs. Patterson for lying to her and dragging her into this mess. That's it. That's it. But Elena, if you ever try something like this again, if you even think about taking advantage of me or anyone else in our family, I won't be this generous. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. And Elena? We're done. I don't want to see you or hear from you until you've gotten serious help. When you're ready to be my sister again instead of my enemy, call me. It took 3 days to move everything back into the house. Mrs. Patterson helped, bringing over casseroles and expressing outrage on my behalf. The other neighbors, once they learned what had happened, rallied around me with offers of help and support. Elena left for Charlotte the following week. She sent me a text saying she'd started therapy and was sorry for everything. I didn't respond. David Hartwell filed for divorce 2 months later. Victoria moved back in with her parents in Greensboro. Morrison and Associates weathered the scandal, but David resigned as managing partner and sold his stake in the firm. And me? I'm sitting in my living room right now, in my house, surrounded by my things, typing this story on my laptop. The same laptop I used to confront the people who tried to steal my life while I was serving my country. Mrs. Patterson is making dinner for us tonight, her famous pot roast. She says it's the least she can do for our neighborhood hero. I keep telling her I'm not a hero, just a soldier who came home to find out that sometimes the biggest battles aren't fought overseas. Sometimes they're fought in your own living room, against the people who are supposed to love you. But here's what I learned. Documentation beats deception every time. Preparation trumps betrayal, and family isn't about blood. It's about the people who have your back when everyone else is stabbing you in it. My security system is still recording, by the way. Not because I don't trust my neighbors, but because I learned that trust without verification is just wishful thinking. Elena thought she could steal my house because I was just a simple soldier halfway around the world. What she didn't count on was that this simple soldier had learned a few things about planning, preparation, and explosive solutions to complex problems. The explosion in this case was the truth, and it demolished her scheme completely. Welcome home, Marcus Webb. Your house is exactly where you left it.